Welcome to the Rising Feminine Online Temple Season 3. This is our third year facilitating a week long of sacred feminine initiations for women like us to come back and remember our true feminine essence. My name is Jonita D'Souza, also the keeper of this online temple space, where I have gathered visionaries from around the world to come together to hold space for you to deepen your connection with your feminine. And doing this work with the feminine, I always invite busy women, especially like us, to bring in rituality into our daily lives so that we can learn how to nourish, nurture, as well as listen to our feminine wisdom amongst the chaos that's going around us. As a participant of this online temple space, I invite you to create a sacred space today, right now, maybe, and light a candle, probably get a good cup of tea or something, whatever it is for you to receive this medicine that is being shared with you today. And this online temple space have always been inclusive of, with the sacred masculine topics and presence. So joining us today is Simon Paul Sutton. And I must say that Simon is not into labels and he doesn't like name tags. But what I can say about Simon is that he is an incredible, unique manifestation of life force, evolutionary friend, ambassador of love, transparent communicator, facilitator, a curious alchemist. I have come across Sam's work with beautiful retreats and festivals, and you will soon get to experience his contagious energy. Welcome, Simon.
Hi, thank you for the introduction and hello to everybody watching.
So, Simon, before I got into this call, as a tradition, I pulled up a goddess card so that we could tune into the energies and wanted a goddess presence. I want to share that with you. Goddess Saraswati came out, the goddess of arts. And I thought that this is so beautiful because I know how creative your work is, and you do music and you do all of this creative work in and bring that as part of your offering. So I'm curious if this goddess makes any presence or any or if she brings up anything for you in this moment.
Mm. Yeah, the first thing that popped up for me was really around I guess, the art of living, the art of communication. I like to talk a lot about the art of communicating authentically, and also really how we can live our art, live our life as a expression of art, as a work of art, as a masterpiece, as it were, and that we're all this unique expression of life force, as you described me. And that's how really I see every living thing now, and practice that. So yeah, I guess in every moment we're practicing something.
Yeah.
So the question I always say is, what are you? And for the divine goddesses joining you today, like, what are you practicing in your words, your thoughts, your actions, your intentions, the way that you're showing up? Where are you putting your focus? And as that focus goes, as we know, energy flows. So there's that sense of really taking full responsibility of the art that you want to express. So that's what sort of comes up from this moment, and how through our passion, we direct consciousness. And so if we really embody that goddess of the artist and allow ourselves to express ourselves from that place, then, all of a sudden that changes the very fabric of the way that we show up in the world.
Yeah. That's just beautiful how you described us as living art, living masterpiece in the making. So Simon, share with us, how did you get into this work? How did it all begin for you?
Wow, how did it all begin in a nutshell?
I know
So
it's so difficult to put it in a nutshell because it's so evolving, ever evolving. But I'm really curious about your life before and how you got into the sacred work.
yeah, that's okay. So So probably the best way to describe it is that if I just take you back, so I grew up in High Wycombe, a small town in Buckinghamshire, actually in the UK, in the United Kingdom. And I grew up in a council estate, underprivileged, let's say, a lot of domestic violence and lack and scarcity. And from a young age, from 15 onwards, I became a criminal, really, you could say. That's the sort of title that brackets me into that world, from shoplifting to stealing from people's garages and then going into people's houses. And from the age of 16 to 18, 19, I was a burglar. And a burglar is somebody who burgles houses and takes people's prized possessions. And so I grew up and very much in a world of, let's say, what I now term as unconscious behavior. I grew up in a foundation of fear and a lot of lack and scarcity, and very much in a very survival mentality. You know, my thoughts were about survival, about, you know, being the best, making sure that I'm not the one that's just going to be the downtrodden. And so that sort of carried with me for some years. And then from that base, from that foundation, I had adopted a lot of addictive habits and behaviors. And at the age of 18, I went to a young offenders institute. It's like a remand center in Reading. And I was luckily convicted to 4 months in jail. And only had to serve 9 weeks, I think about 9.5 weeks in the end. And when I was in there, I made a decision that this is not the life for me. I don't know how I was going to change, but I made a decision that I could see lots of patterns of other people in my circles that were going to more jail. Some of them were getting 2 years in jail, 3 years in jail. Some had actually died. One of my friends had an overdose on heroin and crack cocaine. The environment was very hostile and harsh. And so what happened is that when I came out of jail, I didn't know what to do, really. I was still hanging around with the same circles. I'd got more credibility because I'd been in this remand center. And so now people were thinking that I was somehow, you know, my ego was even more inflated. Yes. And so I really needed to make a change. And then one day I had a moment of like, right, okay, I'm going to be a professional actor. And this actually, and for everyone listening, we often need things in life, something big enough to create motivation. And we need a motive. We need a drive. Often just a little vision is not enough. And so what happened is that the life I was living, this vision of becoming an actor, because I was watching daytime television, smoking marijuana, thinking, I can perform better than this, right? I can do better than this. And that really instilled some sort of spark of energy, some intention, some motivation. And for the next 6 months, I started, you know, pondering the concept and talking to a few people, and then basically just didn't let that seed die. And over a course of 2-3 years, I managed to move through, get myself into a 2-year theatre in Questus in Ealing. It's a theatre, young amateur theatre in London. And then it's just moved on from there. I got myself out of crime. I was still in the hedonistic life. I was still taking a lot of drugs, cocaine, MDMA, drinking alcohol, smoking marijuana, but I was no longer doing the actual criminal act. I was no longer a thief, as it were. And then, you know, stretch forward another sort of 4 or 5 years and meeting new people and sort of still having one foot in this sort of hedonistic world and one foot in this, which I thought was a different world. But little did I know that once I started to get more into the acting world, I was sort of finding out that, hey, there's still a lot of same stuff going on, different jumper, right? Still people in conflict, still a lot of gossip, still a lot of fear, still a lot of separation. Yeah, lots of drama. Well, you know, think about it, going into the acting world, right? There's a lot of drama. Right? Even more drama, right? Even though they're going into even more drama. And and I just want to fast forward you, because I know today we don't have so much time in more details, but just to fast forward you, at the age of in 2007, having done a number of different things to try to survive and become famous and rich, I had a full-on epiphany. I'd be trying to be mild with the words I use now, because, you know, everyone talks about awakening and epiphanies, but I had a peak experience. It's the best way I can describe it,
Mm,
as Carl Jung would say.
mm,
And that peak experience came at the same time when I met a beautiful woman. And we ended up spending 6 years together. But she, in my story, was like a catalyst that solidified a lot of what was happening to me through my reading books and through my wanting to change and so on.
mm,
I've been reading certain different books about, you know, communication, some Eckhart Tolle, Neil Donald Walsh. You know, I was exploring some different people in the sort of, let's say, self-development spiritual world. And then this alchemical experience happened, and it opened me to the wonder and magic of life, which I'd been missing along the way because I was so caught in my stories and personas and striving for something that was illusionary.
mm.
And then just to finalize that in that moment, I made a decision in 2008. I made a decision to never lie again.
Wow.
And when I made a decision to never lie again, in that initial 6 months with this woman, she wasn't experiencing the same thing as me. So it
Uh-huh.
wasn't like some sort of romantic love and I'm just this woman and I'm in love, and it was all some sort of fairy tale movie scene. This experience cracked me open and said, well, if you want to open, you got to face everything that is keeping you closed. You got to face all the lies. You got to face everything that you need to uh, uh, um, face and embrace and accept has to be walked into, let's say. And so it wasn't like it was all just like bliss and joy straight away. It took me into the depths of myself, conspiracy, the lies of society, the lies that everybody's upholding with their fake masks, and so on and so forth. And you know, I will share more with you, but I think that just gives you an essence. And
Yeah.
since then, Janita, since then, I made a dedication to communicating truth, which
Mm,
I call transparent communication, and I
mm,
made a dedication to see when fear is communicating and when love is communicating. And
mm.
and that's why it's such a passion for me and that's been the last 10 years now. What we're talking, that was 2007. So it's the last,
12 years.
12 years.
Wow, what an incredible journey. And I like what you said about that there has to be a strong motive, not just a vision to change or to go on to the next level. And this inquiry has to be fed. Like you did not let it die. You have to keep feeding this seed in you. This is a beautiful gift that listeners can take, that whatever challenges they are having, that can be a catalyst for the next
Yeah.
level of their evolution, pretty much, isn't it? So I like the reason I got attracted to your work in the first place was because of this word that you use, transparent communication. So let's talk more about that. I know women watching here, they learn about the dynamics of the masculine and are in relationship or have come out of relationship. And one of the difficulties they find is that my man or my does not understand me the way, or how do I communicate to this masculine from my feminine essence. Let's talk about
Mm. So maybe for the beautiful beings in your temple, we can talk about masculine and feminine energy, and we can talk about the man has the masculine feminine, the woman has the masculine feminine, and we can sort of separate those two and look at, you know, the masculine is consciousness and the feminine is the, you know, the you know, the essence of everything, the flowering, the creativity, you know, the expression, and you know, the masculine is that sort of drive forward and structure and so on. And I'm sure everyone on this temple knows some of the sort
that.
of breakdowns of the masculine and feminine, I'm hoping.
Yeah,
And then within that, I like to sometimes talk more about the mature masculine and the
yeah.
immature masculine, and the
Mhm.
mature feminine and the immature feminine. So what we start to look at within ourselves when it comes to communicating is really those sort of polarities of like, what, you know, so what is a mature masculine, let's say, because we're talking about the masculine today, right? So
Yes.
the mature masculine does not lie.
Wow. Oh my God. Now this is gonna shake some bones.
Right. And I got tingles over my whole
Yeah,
body,
me too.
right? Right. So we
Wow.
break. I got my whole body is tingling right now. My
Yeah.
whole body is tingling right now. Right. So that's the level that we're dealing with. Yeah.
Wow. Very
No,
powerful.
no lies. So the immature masculine lies. Why does the immature masculine lie? Because he's scared and he doesn't know how to communicate his fear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in order for the immature masculine to step into his masculinity, his full power, he has to confront and tell himself that I'm scared. He has to look at the woman in the eyes, bow down to her, and allow her to hold him while he cries his eyes out and says, I do not know what to do. I am scared. I am scared. I don't know how to lead us right now. But in that truth and that vulnerability, the feminine holds him. He dies in that moment, and then through the feminine support he steps into his power, and together they unite, and then the direction, the solution, and everything else flow through them. But the feminine cracks the masculine open, and the masculine has to bow down to the feminine in order for there to be the transcendence. But the masculine, the immature masculine's got it all the wrong way around. That's why we've suppressed women for eons.
Mm.
It's not acceptable. It's not
Yeah.
acceptable.
It's not
and I,
allowed in
and
the
I,
society.
the whole society is based on this.
Mm.
The whole society is based on this. And this is why the rise of the feminine is so important. And it's not just the feminine and the woman, it's the feminine. It's the rise of the feminine. And it's not excluding the masculine. That's why I like to say it's the rise of the mature masculine and feminine. You see, there's a difference. So for me, it's really like, it's full responsibility, Jonita. It's full responsibility. If a woman that's listening to this is you're with a man and he's not showing up and talking about even what he feels the mature masculine is, he might not know how to get there. But if he's having a dialogue with you, if he's telling you that he wants to honor you, he wants to bow at your feet, he wants to support you to be the greatest version of yourself, because he knows by supporting you, you will crack him open to God. If he's saying that I know what I've done and I'm not here to cheat on you, listen to all of you beautiful goddesses. I cheated on every woman up until the woman that I met in the 2007. I told you her name was Anna, and the woman I'm with now, Dara, I've been with for 5 years journeying, based on transparent communication. When I separated from Anna, she was still wounded and thought that I was not transparent, but I was practicing full transparency. Yeah, in the transition from Anna to Dara. And then the woman before that, Jessica, was 7 years. I cheated on her twice. I looked her in the eye. She saw it. And in that moment when I told her, she knew I had cheated on her. I'd slept with 2 other women, and I had to tell her, because I knew that we had made a pact to always tell our truth, and I couldn't. I wasn't able to hold it. And then she found out, and I knew I had to tell her. And you know what happened? That moment, she looked me in the eyes, and I will remember this forever. And that's why I walk this path now as I do. And I saw the sheer letdown, the feeling. Actually, maybe I say it now and feel into this. This still touches my heart today. Is that I had let her down. But not only had I let her down, I deeply let myself down. Deeply let myself down. And I tell everyone now, every man I meet, the work that Dara and I do, and this is beautiful. This is what the man needs to do. The man needs to feel this. This is so beautiful, and thank you for allowing me to hold this, be with this right now with you all. Is that I let myself down, and I let my word down. And when I looked into her eyes, I just saw so much pain, so much, like I'd killed her. I killed her trust. I killed my trust. And it's not acceptable. lying is not acceptable. And I know that there's a spiritual concept that there's no right, no wrong, there's no good, there's no bad. So on some level, there's no lies and there's no truth. You can play in this dual world. But when we're dealing with human connection here in this reality, me to you, you to me, the people we say we love, we have a responsibility that if we want to come out of fear and no longer play in those protected cells, those little cells, we have to do what it takes to communicate our truth. And that's just been a commitment that I've had for the last 12, 13 years. And this is what's birthed transparent communication. And yeah, I know we can talk again. It's not, for me, I don't know, I'd love to hear what you say on this, but for me, you see how we cut through. It's not even about these different polarities. It's like, can we just start by not lying?
Just become true to ourselves first. And that's really scary. And that requires a lot of courage. As I'm feeling you as well, it requires a lot of courage to become transparent, because we are always afraid of judgment, and we lie about really small things. If you talk about what you shared was a big thing, but we share about really small things like what we ate for breakfast, even, things like that, because we're scared of judgment and how we are perceived. And we want to, on the base of all of that, we want to be loved. We want to be seen the way we are. So it's, oh my God, it is so messy, but it is so beautiful as well.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Yeah, and you say something really, really beautiful there. You say something so beautiful, is that we all want to be loved. And you know what judgment does and lying does? It blocks the very flow of love. You cannot love when you judge and lie. It's like you put a wall up. It's not possible for the love to permeate that deep barrier and protective state. And I love what you said. Yeah, this is what happened for me, Janita. In the first few years, I just realized that it's constant little lies coming out, right? Without nobody's even like questioning them. Everyone's just letting them out, just like it's like common knowledge, just like, yeah. Oh yeah, well, and asking questions and not even wanting any real response. Like this whole thing about communications, like people say, how are you, or how are you feeling? and we answer with, okay, good, not bad, like,
fine,
could be fine, thank you, could be better. And I say to everybody on our retreats, none of those are feelings. If you tell me I'm okay, I have no clue what that means.
Yeah.
None. Nada.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I experienced this when I moved to England and coming from India. And I noticed that people ask like, hey, how you doing? And then they just move on. They don't even wait for your response. Like by the time I opened my mouth, they've moved on. I was like, oh no.
But yeah. Right.
You all right? Oh no, maybe not.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So if we break that down for a moment, and of course, like, yeah, people might go, yeah, well, it's not. No, if we break that down, what is that actually saying? That's saying I don't have time for you. It's saying I'm not interested. It's saying like I don't maybe trust you to even tell you how I'm really feeling. It's also saying that I don't know how I'm really feeling because nobody's ever really asked me. Some people don't even know on the retreats that we offer, they don't know how to drop into that. And I don't say this in a judging way. I don't say this in an experiential way, that people are finding it really difficult to even know what they feel. And we do an exercise with feeling states and when our needs are met and when our needs are not met. And there's a list, there's like an inventory of different words to describe how we're feeling. And most people there's like 50 or more different words to describe our feelings, right? And people are like, it's like a new dictionary to them. They're like, well, I didn't even know there was this many names to how I feel, right? So they don't even know the nuances of different feelings. So when we talk about the state of joy or exuberance or bliss or inner peace, these are just words that people throw around. Like the feeling, it's like, can you drop into the feeling? And maybe this is beautiful to bring it back to the question that you said about the mature and immature masculine and feminine and vice versa, is that Many of you women listening, you have such a powerful, innate intuition. You have the capacity to be tapped into your intuition, often far more than men. Because men, a lot of times, the masculine is more caught in the analytical mind, and it doesn't know how to drop out of the thinking mind into the feeling body. Now, you are not trusting you. And what happens is that the man thinks he has to navigate, the masculine thinks he has to navigate the feminine. But the feminine invites and the masculine directs. And when the woman, it doesn't matter, remember, if you're a woman with masculine, feminine or not, if you're in a relationship of any kind, or a partnership or business partnership, it doesn't matter, any relating, if you're in your feminine and the other person's in their feminine, it's going to be just like too much of the same. If you're both in your masculine, you're going to be too much of the same, clashing. So what's really important when we talk about the immature and mature masculine and feminines and these polarities is to start to know when you're in your different aspects of that. So are you in the inviting mode, like feminine invites, or are you in the directing mode, the masculine directs? And when you meet a man or a woman or whoever it is you're bringing into your sphere from, let's say, a more intimate perspective, start to get really tuned in to your intuition. Don't keep asking everybody else for everyone's opinion. Tune in. Is this what you really want? Is this who you want in your field? Is this person showing up from a level of purity, of honesty, of integrity, of compassion, of aliveness, of excitement? Is this person like looking at you and the way they look at you, honoring you? Is this person acknowledging you? Is this person willing to grow and journey with you, to be vulnerable, to cry in your arms? You know, it's like there's so much that I often notice in relationships, especially where people are not even asking these questions. And what happens, Janita, is that we so keep ourselves small and that we're not even worthy of this, that we keep attracting what we are and then blaming the other people in the relationship that they're the ones with the problem. But we always attract what we are, you see.
Yeah. And as you were speaking, about becoming transparent in communication and inviting the feminine to learn, to discern which mode they are in, what I was feeling is that it's really, let's talk about the women. It's really scary for them to get to this level of vulnerability. So I'm curious if you share with some of the experiences that you had in your work, in the retreats, or any guidance you can give to the women watching here right now. How can they break past that fear that, oh my God, I have to become really vulnerable in order to receive fully the masculine, the conscious opposite polarity or whatever it is in this moment. So how can we overcome that in any moment?
So again, if we try to simplify it, if the vulnerability is our strength, then the vulnerability is the only place that you're going to meet at the depth that you want to meet. Yeah. So you can't meet anybody in the depth when you're in the fear. You can just meet more fear. So the way that me and Dara work with this in our own relationship is that we create. So we started our relationship based on a communication practice, and we have certain agreements in our relating, and those agreements come under the bracket of own growth comes first, own your own shit, it's not about you, and transparency rules. These are like 4 agreements where we base these are like the basis of our relationship. Yeah, that we base our relationship on. And then what we started to do in the early stages of our relating is having dialogues, conversations. And then through the sharing practice that we now share on our events, closed eyes sharing, where we sit down, put a timer on, and we get to actually share what's going on inside of us with each other. And we can speak to that if we want to, but also we create a safe space for the other person to really share and express what's going on inside of them. So safety is one of the most important things with being able to communicate your truth. Because remember what you said, the stigma of society is that, people have been killed for speaking their truth.
Yeah.
So, of course, there's a big fear associated to the subconscious programming of our DNA that if I speak my truth, I'm gonna do, you know, I'm potentially gonna get killed, or I'm putting myself out on the edge. And what happens if I speak my truth and I lose the partner that I really want, and all
Yeah.
this other fear
My
comes
world
up,
is gonna
and all
fall
this,
apart pretty much.
right, and yeah, and right, and I would like to say to you, yes, your world will fall apart, but guess
Yeah.
what? You will step into the blissful life that you've been yearning for in that false evidence appearing real. Fear, false evidence appearing real. Fear is not true. The only fear that's true is the safety mechanism we have in our bodies to create to save us from a dangerous threat. Yeah, does that make sense? The fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah.
That fearful mechanism in our body is the natural, beautiful, designed fear mechanism. It's amazing.
Yeah.
All
And
other fear is self-created.
like when you said that, yes, your world will fall apart. And to one extent, we have to kind of accept that if we really want to pursue this journey, because there is no other way.
Right. And how can, you know, there's a beautiful saying that Dara says sometimes, and she says, so when the door opens, right, when the door opens for you to walk through and you to step into your greatness, for you to step into your fully embodied sovereign self, right, the door opens and the door is only wide enough for you, right? But what happens is we want to try and take everybody else through and take our whole life from the past through, or whatever we be living, and tell everybody about it and think that they can fit through the door too. And I just want to say to you all today, there is no room for anyone else. You have to walk through that door on your own. It's the hero's journey. And when you walk through that door, trust me, on the other side of that door is everything that you've been trying to obtain in that fearful, closed, protective, fearful, diminished, unworthy, anxious, diminished self that you're allowing to be the default state. And I'm saying to you today, as many other messengers say the same, your default state is joy. You're a miracle. You're divine. You're beautiful. Even if you think that you've told yourself a story that you're ugly, or you don't have the greatest body, or all this other noise that we tell ourselves, you are a divine manifestation of life force. There is no other being on the planet that has ever shown up and is designed and looks like you do. That's enough to love yourself. It's enough. And when you love yourself, what will change is the story that you're telling yourself in fear is making you perceive to be ugly, perceive to be diminished, perceive to be unsexy and asleep and not alive. But when you step into the love of yourself, you become luminous, you become alive, you become exuberant, you become joyful, you become ecstatic, orgasmic, you become a sovereign, fully embodied being that, guess what? You don't need somebody to complete you, but you can share your completeness with somebody when they step into their completeness, and then boom, there it is.
Yeah, very beautifully said. Oh my God, it just makes me teary. Wow, really beautifully said. Um, so for some of the women watching, do you have any practice that you can advise or you can take us through in this moment, um, to begin this journey of, take the first little step to transparent communication? First thing, or like few things that we can go into.
Yeah. So first of all, I think when you asked me this before, it's like, what would I like to share with the beautiful women in the temple? I would like to share the breath is the starting point. We were born with the first breath, and we will leave this body with the so-called last inhale, or the last exhale, whichever way it looks. So one of the things that me and Dara share a lot on our events and so on now is really we start with breath. So today I really wanted to share with you 2 breathing practices that you can adapt very simply, very easily. You can do them at any time. And what the breath does is the breath has a beautiful way, the elixir of life, prana, life force, a way of really connecting us to our body, really getting us, dropping us out of our head, bringing us present. And this is so beautiful as well. The breath empowers us, right? It's inspiration. We breathe in the spirit of God. We breathe in the inspiration of our godlike nature. So when we breathe in, we it's almost like a self-loving, every inhale is like a self-loving inhale to ground us into our very being. So I want to share two very simple breath exercises with you. So maybe we'll do that first if you're happy to.
Yeah.
And then I can just share a few passing comments on how you can start practicing some transparency from day to day.
Let's do that. Yes.
Okay, amazing. So okay, wherever you are, like, however you're sitting this, of course, if you're in a car, don't do this while you're driving along. You can do it later, but hopefully you're at home and you're rested and you're in a nice place. So just make sure that both feet are nicely on the floor and you feel grounded. And it's good that you're sat down and you're comfortable. Preferably, it's good if you have a back on a chair with a back, but don't worry if you don't. And if you get lightheaded doing this breath exercise, don't worry. It's a very simple breath exercise. You might just be because you've taken a lot of oxygen into the brain, and maybe the brain hasn't had a burst of life force in a while, okay? So if you do get a little bit lightheaded, just keep breathing normally. Don't panic and just allow it. And you might feel tingling sensations in your hand or in your arms. This is all beautiful. Nothing's happening, okay? So this one I'm going to do first. We'll start with the gentle one. It's called 9 breath. Very simple practice. We're going to do 9 circular breaths. I will count them for you. And on the 9th breath, we're going to take a big, deep inhale, as much oxygen as possible. And we're going to squeeze our body. You can squeeze your fists if you want to. You're going to squeeze everything. Squeeze your perineum. I'm hoping the women maybe know the perineum. But the perineum is that, yes, okay. But if they don't and they're listening, the muscle between your anus and your genitals, there's a muscle there called the PC muscle. And it's the same muscle that when you're going to the toilet and you want to stop peeing for a moment and you squeeze in, it's like that little root lock. And what you can do is you're going to squeeze that in, squeeze your hands, squeeze your face just for 15 seconds. That's it. Okay. And I'm going to do the count for that as well. So just lift your shoulders, relax them back, close your eyes. And to begin with, let's just take 1 deep breath in and 1 exhale out. Just release, okay? So deep breath in and release. Okay, wonderful. So we're going to do circular breathing. Ready? A big deep breath in and then just let the breath fall out again as we go around. So breathe in, number 1. Breathe in deep and out. Good. 2 in. 3 in. 4. 5. 6. 7. Deep breath in as much as you can. 8 in. And last one, big deep breath in. And squeeze and hold. Squeeze everything. Hold for 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Keep squeezing. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Gently release. Keep your eyes closed. Keep your eyes closed and just sit still for a moment. Just feel the body. Don't worry if you don't feel anything. That's okay. And whatever else you may or may not be feeling is also okay. Just allow that. Wonderful. So we could do that again, but I know today we don't have so much time. So what I would normally invite somebody is to do that twice or even 3 times, depending on how they're feeling and depending on how in the head they are. So you can just slowly open your eyes, Janita, for the next one. Do you want to share maybe for the lady? How did that feel for you?
Yeah, I can feel the blood circulation in my hands. Like it's just it's all red and it's heated. My body is like,
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
And I know you do certain practices anyway. So this is like it's like a mild also the sensations of like fire breath, you know, it can really
yeah,
heat up the whole body, and it can bring, like you said, it can bring aliveness into the hands and into the whole body. Okay. And when you do this a few more times, of course, you know, you energize yourself even more. So the
mm,
next one, then I'm going to share with you all in the temple. I love this, that we're in the temple together.
yeah, the online temple.
Yeah, the online temple. I love it. So this is called 20 connected breaths. And what we will do is both of these breath exercises are great for if you're a little bit stressed in the day. You can use this breathing during making love as well with your partners. You can use it for just like before you're about to do a creative project or working, or if you're losing concentration in the day, if you're spending too much time on a computer, or you come home and you just feel like you want to just recharge and change the frequency of your body before you go into like now walking into home from being at work, for example. These are just great stopgap charging breaths, okay? Prana charges. So this one goes like this. We're going to do through the nose, and it's going to be fast, quite a rapid breath, 4 times. And then on the 5th one, we take a deep breath and then release. And then we're going to do that 4 times, which makes up the 20 connected breaths. And I'm going to give you an example. So it will sound and look a little bit like, so it'll be like, um, so it's just through the nose. So you notice again, if you can see me clearly, it's so that will be 5, okay? And then we're going to do that 4 times, and I will lead it, okay? And what's really good when you begin this is, if you notice, I use my fingers to just count my breaths. So
Yeah,
if and you can do it fast, or you can do it quite slow, but it's important that the 4 breaths before the big one are a little bit more rapid. Yeah, they're a faster
like
frequency.
short,
Okay,
fast breath.
exactly. So it's like,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay. Let's do this one for everybody then. So again, make sure your feet are comfortable. Make sure you're comfortable. If you've done this with me and Janita, then you know that you're already feeling a little charged from the last one. And let's give this one a go. So you can even keep your eyes open for this one if you want. You can watch me as well. And here we go. So let's just do the first thing again. Breathe in and breathe out just to let the breath go. Okay, so breathe in. Very nice. All right, here we go. Ready? Breathe in. 1, 5. Good. And again. Good. 3rd round. And this last one we're going to hold at the end for 15 seconds. Okay, so ready? Here we go. 4 fast, big deep one in, and hold for 15 seconds. Let's go. Breathe in and hold, squeeze. Let's count down. 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and release. Good. And just rest for a moment. Just see how that's feeling in the body. And if you want, you can just take your arms above your head. And just give your body, if it needs a little bit of movement of any kind. There you go. And how did that one feel, Janita? Was that different?
It is different because when we did the short breath, it's something like I felt this like some kind of like electric charges, like
Yeah.
and it kind of like makes my lung like expand and contract in a different way because we don't normally breathe normally.
Yeah, we don't normally breathe expansively.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and what happens is so lovely that you notice that it opens up the chest. And what we just did is we pretty much supercharged the O2 in the body, and we activated all the cells in our body. So afterwards, you can feel really energized. And this is me and Dara say a term called getting high on truth. So we don't take drugs, we don't drink alcohol, we don't do any substitute joys. We just get high, let's say, from just self-loving practices, from breath, from loving kindness, meditation, and all the natural, beautiful highs that this life has offered us.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for these practical tips that you shared. And as you said, we can do this anytime. We can come back to it and keep practicing. That's the key. Keep practicing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we share many of these as well. If any of your community want to explore them more, we share them as well on our website. It's just there. They're already there on as a free resource and an accessible resource. And so shall I just finish with a little tip on the transparency? Because I know we may have gone a little bit over our time.
Yeah.
Okay, so I said to you all that one of the ways that I just made a conscious decision to stop lying. That was the first and foremost. But I wasn't being hard on myself. So there's a really beautiful book called The 4 Agreements by a man called Don Miguel Ruiz. And this is a great book around being impeccable to your word, never assuming, no personalizing. And then the last one, the 4th agreement. And the reason why I'm telling you this is the 4th agreement is really important. Do the best you can. So if you make a decision today to stop lying, like I did way back in 2008, it's not going to be that all of a sudden you stop lying. But what you're doing is you're bringing a conscious decision to bring more awareness to the way that you speak and what you talk about, and whether you talk about superficial stuff or whether you drop into the deeper aspects of who you are. You get to see and listen to yourself, because the awareness heightens the listening. So you start to listen to what you're actually saying. And then from that place, you can start to really check in with how you're showing up in the world in terms of what you're saying. So for example, with transparent communication, it doesn't mean you have to tell everybody everything all the time. What it means is that if, for example, I was with you and I said to you and we start talking, and then you felt like you didn't feel safe. You didn't feel like you wanted to talk to me, and you definitely didn't feel like revealing any of maybe your truth to me, right? Because you didn't feel safe. So transparency would be that it's not consensual to talk right now and express myself. So my powerful no is a powerful yes to myself. And you might just say, well, for me, I don't feel like talking about this right now because I don't feel safe. And that in itself is transparent communication. Now, the person you're speaking to, the person you're speaking to might turn around and go, oh, that's interesting. You don't feel safe. So would you like to share why? And maybe they open a doorway for you to communicate why you don't feel safe. And then all of a sudden you might go into a deeper conversation around that. That's just a very simple example. So transparent communication is not brutality. It doesn't mean that you have to keep telling everybody everything that you've ever experienced in your life and you've got to keep talking all the time. It means that it's an inside job. Yeah, it means that you are being honest and full of integrity for yourself. Yeah, integrity. And this is integrity. Yeah, this is about, and maybe a good way to check on integrity, you might like this, is when your words, and your actions are aligned. So many times our words say one thing and our actions communicate something different. So transparency is when you can express what's going on inside of you, from your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions, whatever's happening. And at the same time, you are in congruency, you are in integrity with yourself. And as long as you trust that, you will be able to navigate yourself through whatever dialogues and communication is coming up. And it's really, it's such a beautiful gift. It's a self-loving gift to no longer lie.
Yeah, I know we're running over time, but I have a question. I still want to, because it's just been such an interesting conversation. I know you shared about these practical tips of getting into transparency, integrity. What about expectations? Because that might build up in you that I'm speaking the truth and you are not, receiving me the way I spoke the truth. And so can you talk about expectations here?
Yeah. So if we ask the question, what if we have an expectation, where is it driven from? What's the foundation it's coming from? So
Yeah.
an expectation comes from fear.
Yeah.
When you communicate your truth, it comes from love. In
Mm.
love, there is no fear. In love, there is no expectations. I don't communicate my truth because I want you to communicate yours. I communicate my truth because I want to communicate my truth. And I don't expect you to be anything different. I don't expect you to change. I don't expect you to do anything. But when we gravitas into, when we focus the frequency of ourselves into a resonance of truth, we naturally gravitas and start to attract more people that are also in that frequency. It doesn't mean people that are in lies and in fear and in anxiety and all that are bad people or wrong people. Everyone's a divine expression of life force. But as Rumi so beautifully said, the thing that we have to seek is all the barriers and all the blocks that we've built up against the very essence of who we are. It's really that simple. So I don't speak truth so that then I have to expect everybody else to do it. I just lead as the example that I want to show up in the world. And in my experience, Janita, I just keep continually attracting more and more people that want to communicate in this way. So,
Mm.
so the expectations always, for me, will never get reached. All expectations will never get reached. They're almost like they're a disaster from the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, that's a nice way to say that. Yeah,
Yeah,
expectations. Yeah.
yeah. So every time I've had expectations, they've always crumbled and not been any way that I want them.
I can so relate. I can so relate to that.
Right. And isn't this beautiful, right? So if we let go of the expectations, guess what? We get everything that we was trying to get in the expectation, but we get it from a place of purity, a place of love, a place of joy. And you know what else? We get it even more profound and even more rich than in the way that we want it in the expectation. An expectation creates limitation.
Yeah.
There's no limitation in love. If we are the essence, the very essence, the divine nature of love, of essence, whatever you want to call it, source, God, it doesn't matter what you name it. If you are that, if you own that wholeness, that completeness, you don't need anybody to do or change or anything, because when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change.
Mm.
So we change. And that's why you hear this message. I talk to all these beautiful women with you today. When you keep hearing the message, go within or go without, the only one that has to do the work is the inner, right? It's like it's nothing, everything on the outside is taken care of. It's looked after. You change your inside and you will start to see your resonance and connection to the outside in a very different way.
Mm.
It's everything is going on inside of you.
Mm.
Start there and trust me, you won't fail. There's no
Mm.
failure.
That is so beautiful. I don't want to finish this conversation because it's been so interesting and it's been so beautifully transmitted by your truth.
Mm.
I can really feel the essence of the truth, that's the space that you are coming through. So thank you so much. I want to ask you
Thank you.
in closing. Um, so before that, I will provide the link to the website of Simon's work, so you can go and register there, sign up for the resources. And it's daraandsimon.com, isn't it?
Yeah, darrensimon.com, and they don't even have to sign up. Just on the blog, there's some resources, and I don't expect anything from your community. I just, you know what, when you sent me the email, it was just a beautiful gift that you invited me here. There's not like, I'm not trying to coerce anybody anywhere. If you want to come and hang out with us, you can. I mean, Janita, you're doing amazing, beautiful offerings for these beautiful women, and everyone will find what they need at the right time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this transparent communication in here. So there's one question that I've been asking all the temple guides here, is if in a line you can share with us, what does rising feminine mean to you in this moment?
We touched on it today. The rising feminine in this moment for me is sovereignty, balance, harmony, and the flip of what we've been experiencing so far, and the union, the union of the wholeness that really, for humanity to continue, from my humble opinion, the feminine has to rise.
Yes, Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Simon, for your time, your presence, and your sharing and all the conversation, the beautiful practices that you have shared. I'm sure I'm already loving it, and I'm sure the women watching will truly benefit from all of this conversation. Thank you so much.
Now, thank you so much for doing this, and good luck with everything you're doing, and enjoy the temple. Thank you for letting me be a part of it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Ciao.